Last year I fixed my wet palette by putting some copper stuff in it. This is what it looks like now, over a year later. Obviously it's time for a change now. I kind of like the verdigris effects on it. I think that's quite cool. Some verdigris inspiration. But yeah, this is a bit gross. Now, I haven't been using this palette consistently over the past few months. I have a bigger one now. So with this palette, I've made the mistake of not putting this on, and actually I got some really gross mold growing on it. It's the first time it's ever happened to me. And yeah, all of this is fucking gross, so we don't want that. And I need to make another one. I did have another idea that I could do, which is using some copper wire and just kind of putting it all the way around. Now, I don't know if that's gonna work, as in like, is it gonna really prevent anything from happening? I don't know, but I thought, might as well try it. Now, this copper wire is a little bit dirty. As you can see, like, there's just a bit of stuff on it. I might be ruining my wet palette right now. So if I just wait a little bit, is that? Well, that didn't work. That is rust.
Welcome to Side Quests, where sometimes we try new things and fail miserably.
I actually got, I don't know if you can see, but I got some primer on one of my favorite shirts. And I hope it comes off in the wash.
Just don't wear your favorite clothes when you're painting. It's not worth it. Last time I said I was going to use these dice that my friend gave me as inspiration to paint this clan rat, so here we are.
I primed the rat with a Molotow purple acrylic refill, and I soon found out that this was actually a really bad idea, because turns out this isn't a great paint for priming. As soon as I was trying to rub some paint off, the primer also came off, and this happened quite a few times where I actually had to just paint certain bits again. I also decided to paint this with the arm separated from the body, just because the original pose means that it's hard to reach certain areas if I was to paint them together. Now, I was using some Mr. Pigment's paints for this one, just to kind of see what I could do. So these are single pigment paints. Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out how to use them, how to incorporate them with all the paints that I already have as well. Should I paint a pink Skaven? Is that what we're gonna do? So then, as opposed to doing a, regular Caucasian skin tone, I kind of just went for a bright pink. And yeah, I was just like, you know what, if we're going to do something different, let's just go all the way. So this might look a little bit strange to you, but I certainly had quite a bit of fun in trying all these different magenta, purples, pink tones. In order to get the single pigment paints flowing nicely, I've been using a contrast medium from Games Workshop. So the idea was to just glaze this over the pinks that are more desaturated, because obviously they have white in them, and so this would make sure that I was maintaining the saturation throughout. Up to a point, I was quite happy with how things were going, as I was adding more white and then glazing that kind of magenta in. But at some point, things started to change,
Not sure when, where I kind of just started to lose the detail and kind of like the contrast that I was creating. But as you can see here, I tried quite a few different things with glazes, trying to keep in mind that original color scheme, which is basically using the red, a purplish pink, and an orange. I actually got to use quite a few different paints I hadn't used before, and to be honest, I don't think I've ever painted like a really kind of bright orange cloth situation before. So, I was trying different things with shades and, highlighting with yellow as opposed to highlighting with the desaturated orange. I don't think I did a very good job, I'm not going to say that. I did go back and forth with a lot of things. Really, I was trying to figure out what things were going to look like in the end. I didn't have an idea of that at the very beginning, so that means I'm just kind of like putting paint on and then realizing I don't like it and then changing it again. So as you can see here, I'm just kind of highlighting the face again because it was too dark, and then I'm like, okay, now that's a bit too much, let's glaze it back down. But yeah, at some point I did have to stop and just kind of move on to the other details so I could finish the miniature. So I kind of just painted the shield and like some leather bits and wooden bits kind of quickly. At the moment, I do have other projects that I need to complete. I have deadlines, and so even though I wanted this to look amazing, like I do think that I could have done better, but I just had to at some point kind of hurry up a little bit. And so some of the details might not be very clean, the brush strokes might not be the best. I will never stop kind of experimenting on things. That's kind of my motto, is just to see what happens. So for example, with the non-metallic metal, I first wanted to see if I could do an undercoating sort of situation. So I used some oranges and then whites and then glazed stuff on top, and then kind of didn't work. So from then on, I started to add more highlights, and still I wasn't really happy with it. So off camera, what I did was I added some orange to highlight certain areas. Now, I also chose Emperor Gold for some of the metallic bits. One of the dies actually has some golden details, like the numbers are in gold, so that's why I decided to use that. And here at the end, I, glued stuff back together. The arm that was separate from the body was actually painted a little bit different, because sometimes I kind of forgot to go back to it and make sure that I was doing the same things on the arm as I was doing on the rest of the miniature. So yeah, it looks a little bit different. The metallics don't look super nice or interesting. Again, it was just kind of like trying to rush it. I kind of wanted to add some grass and some flowers, so that's what I did. However, I think the grass that I used, you're not really meant to use it as I did. I would love to know how to get that realistic texture and grass feel with that type of grass, but yeah. But still, I kind of got some of those colors again with the flowers on the base, and I kind of like the end result. And if I was to do it again, I now have some tools in my arsenal that I can use to kind of get some really nice pinks and even some of the other tones. Before I go, I just wanted to say there's currently a video collab with Mr. Pigments that's out right now. I previously made a video about Mr. Pigments paints, kind of reviewing them, but mostly it was about like my experience with them. So we got together and I got to ask him some questions, and honestly I had a really great time, and I actually know how to use the paints, and I've been doing a bit of that, which is really exciting. We love the sounds from the road. This is one of the minis that I laid some paint on. It's not finished or anything, but you can just see like how some of the paints were used. So check that out, links in the description. I'm Mars, this is Roll for Paint, and I'll see you in the next one. This is real footage of the eclipse. All right, let's go and edit this.